the meeting, please.
Mr Mayor, this council meeting is being recorded in accordance with council's webcasting of council meetings policy. The recording will be archived and made available for viewing at any time on council's YouTube channel for a minimum period of 12 months. All care is taken to maintain your privacy. However, if you are in attendance in the public gallery, you should be aware that your presence may be recorded. Your continued attendance means that you agree to being recorded and also that you will abide by the council's adopted code of meeting practice. The chairperson or general manager have the discretion to interrupt the recording of any meeting at any time should it be deemed necessary. This may occur in circumstances where commentary is considered to be misleading, defamatory or inappropriate to be published, or where behaviour breaches council's adopted code of meeting practice. Councillors and senior staff are reminded that this meeting is being live streamed, and for the benefit of those viewing online, please ensure you use the microphone when speaking and turn it off when you are finished.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. Could I ask all who are able to please stand for the prayer and acknowledgement of the country. Almighty God, give wisdom to those in authority and guide all peoples in a way of righteousness and peace, so that we may share with justice the resources of the earth, work together in trust and seek the common good. Amen. I'd like to acknowledge that this meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Wiradjuri people and recognise the strength, resilience and the capacities of the Aboriginal people in this land. You may all be seated. Thank you. We move to item 5.1, apologies in attendance by audio-visual links. Mr. General Manager, are there any apologies or approvals required for attendance by audio-visual link?
Mr Mayor, I have one request for apology, and that is from Councillor Fry.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Gulliver. Councillor Underwood, that the apology of Councillor Fry be accepted and leave of absence granted. We move to item 6.1, confirmation of minutes, ordinary council meeting, 17th September 2025. Councillors, could I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor West, Councillor Cranston. Councillors, any discussion? No discussion. I'll put the motion. Those for? Against? Carried. Move to item 7.1, declaration of interest. General Manager, do we have any declaration of interest?
Mr Mayor, I have the following declarations of interest. Councillor Wright in item 8.2.2 of the Director of Environmental Planning and Business Services report. Councillor Underwood in item 8.5.1 of the Director of Corporate Services, Cultural and Community Services reports. Councillor Underwood also in item 8.2.2 of the Director of Environmental Planning and Building Services. Councillor Packham in item 8.5.1 of the Director of Cultural and Community Services reports. Councillor Packham in item 8.2.2 of the Director of Environmental Planning and Building Service reports, and Councillor Packham in item 11.1.2 of the Director of Corporate Services and Finances confidential reports.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Orban, Councillor West. Councillors, any discussion? No discussion. I'll put the motion. Those for? Against? Carried. Councillors, we now move to the General Managers and Directors reports. We move to item 8.1.1, Central New South Wales Joint Organisations Board Meeting, 31st of July 2025, Parks. Councillor, can I move in a seconder? Councillor West, Councillor Packham. Councillors, any discussion? There's no discussion. I'll put the motion. Those for? Against? Carried. Councillor, we now move to the Director of Environmental Planning and Building Services reports. Item 8.2.1, Section 4.15 of the Environmental Planning and Assessments Act 1979. Councillors, have a mover and a seconder. Councillor Gulliver, Councillor Cranston. Councillors, any discussion? No discussion. I'll put the motion. Those for? Against? Carried. Move to item 8.2.2, General Report. Councillor Wright. Yes, thank you.
I'll be declaring a pecuniary interest. I'll be leaving the vote for this one. My parents' business have a DA pending in the schedule for this one.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Packham.
And I have a non-pecuniary, non-significant conflict as I operate a cafe. So I've got a number of competitors with as applicants for DAs. So I'll leave the room.
Thank you, Councillor Packham. Councillor Underwood.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Non-significant and non-pecuniary interest in this matter. I'm an employee of an organisation that operates the cafe and would be in direct competition with several of DA applicants. It's non-pecuniary because I have no financial interest. My salary is not linked to the performance of the cafe. However, due to the volume of the DAs of this nature, I will leave the room.
Thank you, Councillor. Oh, yeah, I've got a call. Councillors, can I have a move and a seconder, please? Councillor Orban, Councillor Cranston. Councillors, any discussion? No discussion. I'll put the motion. Those for, against, carried. Can we have the councillors back, please? Thank you, councillors. Right, we move to item 8.2.3, planning proposal, Jurumanar Road Master Plan Precinct, Eglinton. Councillors, can I have a move and a seconder? Councillor Underwood, Councillor Orban. Councillors, any discussion? Yes, Councillor Cranston.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'm happy for this to go to Gateway. In principle, I think it makes sense, and I commend the staff on the work that's been done to date. We certainly need more housing options in Bathurst. Obviously, this is on the outer edge of Eglinton, which is a quiet village. There's still many people that have lived there for decades, so we do need to be mindful of they've bought there for that reason, the village lifestyle, and how this will potentially, adding up to 200 homes, it will change the feel of that. Specific to that, I would like more information on the traffic impacts, and I have had a brief conversation with the acting director as to how that will play out, at what point we'll get some more information on that. So I look forward to having more conversations around that. And I'd also just, I guess, like some confirmation or some clarity around the dual role that council actually plays in this, being part owner of the land and obviously part how the approving body, that kind of thing all plays out. And I would really like to urge that we are on the ground communicating with the residents of Eglinton. What's changed since 2019? And certainly plain language. And I note that in some of the information, we're talking about reducing things when we're actually increasing. So it's just, I'm sure that's just a typo, but just so there's no misunderstanding in things like that. So obviously I'll support it at this point, but will reserve my final decision until specifically I've seen some traffic information, and obviously we've heard from residents, particularly the Eglinton community.
Yes, yeah. Acting Director.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I can just make a couple of comments. Certainly, we can look at a traffic impact assessment as part of the documentation that will come through to council, and there has been earlier work done on a local environmental study that was done prior to the rezoning of the whole area of around the original village of Eglinton back in the mid-2000s, and we also had some work done with the master plan. So we're feeling confident that traffic won't be an issue. It'll really be a matter of what types of intersection treatments we'll be using. Definitely we can look at how we explain the planning proposal to the community and how we explain that, because it is complicated and planning is never easy. In terms of the dual role of council, yes, council is the owner of the land, and in the planning proposal documentation that will be made very clear. But council's not the only owner. There are some private property owners. It will be up to the Department of Planning to decide whether it gives the council the delegations to finalise the planning proposal. So that is once the planning proposal comes back to council after public exhibition, council and the Department of Planning finalise the document. In some instances, the Department of Planning will delegate that function to the council. In other instances, it won't. And it might be in this instance that it doesn't because council is one of the landowners.
Thank you. Acting Director. Yes, Councillor Cranston.
Just a question just around the traffic impact work that we've already done, because I'm not suggesting consultants for the sake of consultants, but perhaps it's just a matter of sharing or resharing that work that's been previously done.
And through you, Mr Mayor, and if I can make one additional comment, at the moment council is updating its traffic model, the citywide traffic model, so we can run some numbers through that traffic model just to look at this particular area in probably quite an easy and less expensive way.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor West.
I wasn't planning to speak to this, but I'd like to just add something on to what Councillor Cranston's comments have prompted me to comment. And I applaud her acknowledgement of the villagers' good, the fact that they bought there expecting to live in a certain manner, and that we should honour that as much as we can. But I can't help comparing that to what's happened at South Bathurst and the fact that the villagers there, and they are basically a village, haven't had the same consideration.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further discussion? Councillor Packham.
Yeah, look, I think this is a great proposal, Mr Mayor, and I'd just like to commend the planning staff for their work, and I know that it's certainly a significant piece of work that they've completed on this.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further discussion? Councillor Orban.
It's a quick one. There is a note in here that does say concern regarding the capacity of Eglinton Public School to cater for increased enrolment. They're already at capacity. Has any talks been had with the Department of Education to see if there is any proposed extension or new schools going on out there?
Thank you. Yes, Acting Director.
Through you, Mr Mayor, when we rezoned land around Eglinton back in 2013, we had ongoing discussions with the Department of Education, although they didn't participate too much at the time. Council set aside additional land for the expansion of the Eglinton School. The Department of Education actually didn't want that land, but through lobbying from the Eglinton P&C, the Department of Education ultimately took part of that land. So my understanding from the Department of Education is that if the Eglinton School needs to grow, it can grow on its current site in addition to the additional land that Council has set aside for the school. When we did the original rezoning, what was an interesting comment from the principal of Eglinton Public School at that time was that it was easier for him to manage a growing school with a growing population than it was for him to manage a school that was shrinking with a declining population. So that was just interesting commentary at that time.
Thank you. Councillor Cranston, did you have a question?
Did just have a question around clarity, and by no means meaning to nitpick, but my understanding is this going through to Gateway is going to put this at the exact same place Busby is at. Is that correct?
Ms. Acting Director.
Through you, Mr Mayor, yes, that is correct. So Council is only commencing the planning proposal process if the Department of Planning issues a gateway determination. Subject to any conditions being met, Council would then exhibit the planning proposal. Subsequent to any submissions being received and considered, a further report will come back to Council to determine whether it wants to proceed with the planning proposal in its current form or in an amended form or not at all.
Thank you, Acting Director. Any further discussion? Yes, Councillor Gulliver.
Thank you. I just wanted to support what Councillor Cranston said, but also the Town Planning Department, the briefing they gave us, and it looks like they've done a lot in it and explaining the successes they've had with other areas. So I appreciate what the Town Planning Department did.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further discussion? No further discussion. I'll put the motion. Those for. And I need a division. Sorry. So we'll put that again. Councillors, those for? Against? Carried. Thank you. Councillor, we now move to item 8.2.4, planning proposal scheduled 5 environmental heritage. Councillors, could I have a move and a seconder? Councillor Wright, Councillor Cranston. Councillors, any discussion? Councillor Cranston.
I guess I had similar questions actually to one of the general public earlier tonight. So you have kind of answered them, but I'm not sure if we're live streaming. I do know we did live stream the last public forum. I'm not sure whether that was in error because I was on leave. So I'm not sure whether we did live stream this public forum. So there has obviously been questions and you potentially have already answered them. But can I confirm at what point and how affected owners will actually be notified? So is it the minute we start preparing the planning proposal? Because I did read it in that way, but that was in contrast to an answer I believe you gave earlier. And then, because obviously my main concern is the process starting before some owners are even aware. And what we're doing is obviously talking about people's private residences. And in some cases, we're actually talking about objects that could be listed without their knowledge or consent. So I want to be really clear about how we will communicate. And sorry. So I just want to get that balance right. So yeah, sorry. So I've got jumbled notes at the moment. So based on that, when will staff notify them? And the other question I had was, when this comes back, I'm assuming we'll be able to consider each property individually once it goes forward to public consultation. And so then we can then make individual decisions.
Yes, second, Director.
Through you, Mr Mayor. So at this stage, again, council is only making a resolution to commence the planning proposal process. In some instances, in identifying the new heritage items that are proposed to be listed, that's been at the request of a property owner, or we've been out on site with a property owner and talked to them about it, or we haven't spoken to the property owner, but we've identified the property through our own research. Inclusive of the movable heritage objects. Traditionally, we don't always talk to the property owners up front, because if we get the council resolution and go to Gateway, the Department of Planning may choose not to support a particular object, a particular property or object to be listed. So they might in fact say, council, you can go to Gateway, but you've got to remove X, Y and Z from the list. So our normal point of contact is when we go to public exhibition. So after that gateway stage, a letter would be sent to every individual property owner, and we would invite them to come in and talk to us if they needed to find out more about a proposed listing. They then have the opportunity to lodge a submission with council. As I mentioned before, in the past, where we have received an objection to a listing, it has been our approach to recommend to council that listing not proceed. In saying that, council offers a local heritage assistance funding program, and when we have offered funding to properties, one of the conditions of accepting that funding is that they do not object to a potential listing into the future. So the difficulty with that, though, it might have been a previous property owner that accepted that listing. So there'll be a number of factors that we'll take into account when we're recommending the final listing back to council. So this is really starting the process of having that conversation with property owners, and then coming back to you with a final recommended list of changes to the LEP.
Thank you, Acting Director. Yes, Councillor Cranston.
A couple of follow-up questions to that. So I have obviously read the report, but I didn't go and total the number of property owners that have been notified versus those that haven't. Do you happen to have a rough knowledge just off the top of your head on that? And therefore, would it be a big drain on resources to start that conversation now with them? I do think, that timing can be quite tight. And for someone over coffee to go, hey, do you know they're going to list your house on a register? I do think perhaps if the resources permit, we could do this a little more upfront.
Yes, Acting Director.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Probably about a third of the properties that we're proposing to list, the property owner is aware of. A couple of the properties are owned by Bathurst Regional Council. They're movable objects such as the Cobb and Co coach. And yes, we could start some conversations now while the Department of Planning is considering whether it issues a gateway determination once we've put the planning proposal through the planning portal.
Thank you. Councillor Cranston.
I just think it's good manners. So I'd actually like to request if we could even just simply send a letter noting that you know, the steps that are followed. So if that is a possibility.
And through you, Mr. Mayor, we could also extend the public exhibition period to give them additional time. That's really at council's discretion. Even though the Department of Planning would tell us what the minimum period is, we can add to that.
Ah, good. Thank you. Any further discussion? No further discussion. Put the motion. Those for. Against? Carried. Moved to item 8.2.5, Bathurst Region's Village Strategy 2025. Councillor, can I move and a seconder? Councillor Wright, Councillor Cranston, councillors, any discussion? No discussion. Put the motion. Those for. Against? Carried. Moved to item 8.2.6, Economic Development Third Quarter Report. Councillors, can I have a move and a seconder? Councillor Underwood, Councillor Gulliver, councillors, any discussion? No discussion. I put the motion. Those for. Against? Carried. Council, we now move to the Director of Corporate Services and Finances report. Move to item 8.3.1, Director of Corporate Services and Finances report. Councillors, can I have a move and a seconder? Councillor Wright, Councillor West, councillors, any discussion? Councillor Cranston.
Again, thank you to the Director and the Finance team for reintroducing this 3-month cash projection. I've said it before, but I will say it again. It's a really valuable tool for councillors. And I do want to acknowledge the positive result for September. The previous forecast showed an unrestricted cash balance of around 7 million, but we've actually come in at 8.8 million at month end. So that's a favourable movement of obviously 1.8 million. So I do recognise these figures will move around, up, down, depending on timing of receipts, payments, project deliveries, and a whole host of other things. That's to be expected. This report, though, is the only current measure that we have of council's financial liquidity. And so the ongoing attention to the shifts is an important part of our oversight role as councillors. So it's not about criticising staff, but it's simply ensuring we understand what's driving the movements, but also the variations. So with that in mind, could I please ask the following questions? And I am happy if they need to be taken on notice for the next meeting. The forecast shows an unrestricted cash falling from 7.65 million in November to around 3 million in December. What are the main factors around that? You know, is it due to capital project timing, major suppliers, grant payments, land settlements? Where are we at with that? And given there's no rate instalment due again until February, what does the January liquidity position look like? And is that balance expected to remain near 3 million or improve, tighten further? So again, thank you to the Director and staff for the clarity and the extra visibility. It does help us fulfil our roles from a governance point of view.
Thank you, Councillor. Mr. Director? Do I take them on notice or?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, we will need to give you a bit more info because it's reasonably complicated, some of the calculations and in terms of grants when they arrive, etc. However, look, there's no rates, of course, for a little while because the instalments were recent, so that's going to create an issue up until the new calendar year. And we can give you some information, councillors can get information about what actually is forecast in terms of ins and outs for the next several months, including to January. January is probably the most likely time when we will get closer to danger point, for want of a better term. But $2-point-something million at the end of December is a good forecast. But we will take on notice if you would like, Mr. Mayor, through you, to give you some more information about what's in these calculations.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Acting Director. Yes, Councillor Orban.
To the director as well. What's the ratio of ratepayers that pay full instalment or like full rate or paying by instalments? Because obviously we're still going to have rates money coming in from those that pay on instalment.
Yes, Acting Director.
Again, through you, Mr. Mayor, we will probably need to take that one on notice. We did get a lot of money received after we sent the rate notices out. I think it was late July, for this financial year. So the perception would be that there's probably a fair few people that are paying in full as soon as they get the rate notice.
Yeah.
However, I can't give you an exact figure on it. So if you like, I can give you take it on notice and give you some more information about what that percentage is. We'll be able to extract that, I believe, fairly easily.
Thank you, Acting Director. And yes, Councillor Wright.
Can I just confirm that, so the forecast cash position for the next 3 months on that chart, where it says unrestricted cash and cash equivalents position 8.8 actual for September end, that is still consolidated, isn't it? That's not just the general or waste fund. Can I just confirm that?
Mr. Acting Director.
Mr. Mayor, the figure for the calculation is the calculation based on the general fund, yes. Your $8 million figure is including the unrestricted cash and cash equivalents. So that's the cash figure for general account, yes.
Yes, Councillor Wright.
Okay, so I just want to triple confirm that we have 8.8 million in unrestricted cash in just the general, and what it would, because I think on council, on paper, council always combine the waste and the general. So that is the general and waste fund that has that amount. That's not including unrestricted cash for sewer or water. I'm 99% sure. I just want to triple check that I understand that.
Yes, Acting Director.
I believe that's the case, yes.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Cranston.
One more, it's a fairly obvious one, I think, but we've stopped including the 4.5 additional loan just as a line item, I guess. So that would mean that if we hadn't have taken out that loan, our $3 million in funds would actually be a negative 1.5. Is that a correct statement? So where we've got unrestricted cash, as at December, we're forecasting $3 million. But that would include the 4.5 loan. Is that right?
That figure would include $3 million. Yes, it would include that loan. Take that off. So yes, that's the case, yes.
Yeah, Mr. Councillor.
Sorry, so for clarity, we would have spent $1.5 million worth of restricted funds. So I guess you could look at it either way. We would have spent restricted funds again, or the push to obviously draw down that loan was obviously a timely one.
Yes, there might be a payment for that forecast period close, so that might not be $3.7 million. That figure there would not include the loan. The loan may be reduced because there may be another instalment paid in that time. So how much into the red, if you allowed for the loan, there would be, it might be $1 million or thereabouts. Just don't know the exact figure, of course.
Yes. No further discussion? Yes, Councillor Gulliver.
While we're talking money, I'm just wondering what's our position or council's position in collecting our overdue rates and developer cost charges, etc. Is that been improving?
Mr. General Manager may be able to answer that one.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, our collection of debts is around a 7% figure. The industry requirement for a council of our size is 10%. So we'd like to see better than 7%, but it's 30% better than the industry standard that's allowed for. As part of that process, when we need to take action, we normally do correspondence internally, and then if we don't get responses, we then utilise the services of a debt collection agency. And so we keep pursuing that. I think the collection rates is pretty good, but it does reflect the financial difficulties that a number of people are going through at the moment.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. No further discussion. Oh, sorry, Councillor Wright. Question.
Just one last question for the Director of Corporate Services and Finance, and it's, I guess, slightly off topic but still money related. Does our budget for 25-26 include the federal assistance grants for I'm just thinking about that notification that we got from Local Government New South Wales that said moving forward we shouldn't be relying on those federal assistance grants coming in at sort of certain times, and our budget shouldn't be reliant on it. And it just made me think, is our current budget reliant on federal assistance grants for the next financial year towards the sort of June period coming in at that last minute? I've kind of murdered that question, but let me know if you need me to clarify.
Yes, Ms. Ackner.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I believe, and I'll just double check, but I believe that we would allow for the fact that the grant would be paid no earlier than what would be the normal. So in other words, it would be paid in the year that it's meant to be paid in for next year. So if next year's grant 26, I don't believe that we would have allowed for anything at the end of the year for anything in advance. But just let me check on that, because there has been some changes, and when you're talking about the grants that are coming in, the estimates are for the grant, for financial assistance grant. They're not, the wording is used still as an estimate of the grant. So the potential could be that the grant that we expect to get, budget-wise, we would have allowed in somewhere with the estimate, but the potential would be that there could be a change, because they're still using the word estimate. It's not locked in from the wording from the government. So I just make that point that there is that potential that
Thank you. No further discussion. Put the motion. Those for. Against. Carried. Move to item 8.3.2, Delivery Program 2005 to 2029 and Operational Plan 2025 to 2026, September 2025 Operational Plan Progress Report. Councillors could have a move and a seconder. Councillor West, Councillor Underwood. Councillors, any discussion? No discussion. Put the motion. Those for. Against. Carried. Move to item 8.3.3, Sundry Section 356 Donations, Buffers Memorial Entertainment Centre, Community Use Subsidy and Mount Panorama Fee Subsidy. Councillors can have a move and a seconder. Councillor West, Councillor Cranston. Councillors, any discussion? No discussion. I put the motion. Those for. Against. Carried. Move to item 8.3.4, Power of Attorney. Councillors can have a move and a seconder. Councillor West, Councillor Underwood. Councillors, any discussion? No discussion. Put the motion. Those for. Against. Carried. Move to item 8.3.5, questions taken on notice. Councillors can have a move and a seconder. Councillor Gulliver, Councillor Underwood. Councillors, any discussion? No discussion. I put the motion. Those for. Against. Carried. Move to item 8.3.6, Code of Conduct Complaints, 1st of October 2024 to 30th September 2025. Councillors can have a move and a seconder. Councillor Gulliver, Councillor West. Councillors, any discussion? Councillor Wright, sorry.
Yeah, I just want to speak to it because someone in the general public forum did speak to this tonight. So 188 complaints, 160 of those I understand to be from the one person to, and they're kind of under a management scheme of some nature because they're quite regular, which leaves 28 complaints. And so I want to, so 12 of those have been against me. All of them have been determined to not be in breach of anything, of the code or anything like that. And I guess the reason I just wanted to speak to this is because I could see this was going to be a problem from the beginning, having quite an invested group in the community, sort of very opinionated on me and the things I say or whatever the case might be. And I just want to share that I had a conversation, with yourself through you, Mr. Worth, the General Manager, to sort of, I guess, work out how we might navigate this space in a way that is avoiding huge costs for council, whatever the case might be. And the way I do understand it to be is that when a code of conduct complaint is received, the General Manager does have the delegation. He doesn't have to, activate that, but the General Manager does have the delegation to deal with that internally or to pass it on to a reviewer. And when we were when there's and that is under certain terms of the code, such as if they're deemed frivolous or if there's different things. So I just wanted to express that I had been in communication with the General Manager, noticing common themes. For example, one person who's submitted 5, I think, against me, because the problem is the complaints are all about the exact same thing nearly every time, and the adjudication by the reviewer is the exact same thing nearly every time. And I'm trying to understand how you communicate that with the community and say, hey, we're actually allowed to do this. Can you please stop submitting these, based on precedent? So I guess there's no question or anything. I'm just speaking to the fact that there are repeat offenders in this space, lodging complaints. I mean, when we talk about frivolity, one of them against me was a social media post I did for Australia Day, sharing a photo of my partner in the sprinkler in his jocks with my whole family present, and it was just a family-friendly, lovely Australian experience on Australia Day. And for that to not be dealt with internally when it's just clearly so frivolous, in my opinion, it is frustrating, because it's $2,500 to $3,500 a pop every time one gets sent to a reviewer. So I'm just speaking on the public record. Please, before submitting code of conduct complaints, and I'll just speak for myself, if they're against me, let's have a chat. I'm happy to share precedent rulings so you know like that they're not going to pass or whatever. I just want to work with the community to stop this, because that $42,000 is the money that we tried to save by cancelling New Year's Eve the first year. Like, this is real money and it has an impact on council's budget. And if I am breaking the rules, the reviewer will find that to be the case and I'll be dealt with accordingly. But certainly 12 findings of no breach. I think it's time that we can maybe move on from some of this stuff.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further discussion? Yes, Councillor Gallo.
Yes, I haven't had a code of conduct, but anyway, I'm always about saving money. I'll get there. $42,000. Well, we'd all like that somewhere else. If they come in with a complaint code of conduct, the public are entitled to do what they want to do. But like a lot of places where you go, you get charged a fee. They'll say there's $300 up front because we've got to do research and this and that, and then it makes them think, well, am I going to take this further? Is there real grounds for this other than loading our staff up? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gallo. Any further discussion? Yes, Mr. General Manager, respond.
Unfortunately, Councillor, there isn't the capacity to charge a fee.
Thank you. Councillor Wright. All right.
And if there was, I would happily let them keep coming in. We might have a resolution to council's budget if that's the case.
Thank you. No further discussion. Put the motion. Those for. Against? Carried. Move to item 8.3.7, policy review, governance, payment of expenses and provisions of facilities for councillors. Councillors can have a move and a seconder. Councillor West, Councillor Cranston. Councillor, any discussion? No discussion. I'll put the motion. Those for. Against? Carried. Council, we now move to the Director of Engineering Services report. Move to item 8.4.1, Cemetery Services Officer. Councillors can have a move and a seconder. Councillor Underwood, Councillor Cranston. Councillors, any discussion? No discussion. Oh, Councillor Cranston, sorry.
This one's a tricky one for me, and my position on this has been clear for months. I do fully support the care and respect of the cemeteries, but I cannot support creating a new permanent full-time role right now. The funding source we're discussing comes from temporary savings in this year's budget, savings that we obviously actually need. What we're doing is taking a short-term underspend and we're turning it into a new structural cost year on year. What happens next year when we don't have this year's wage savings? The position's already been advertised at around $88,000. So that's on top of the money that's been put aside for groundwork. Doesn't include super, doesn't include workers' comp. So it's, substantially more than well over $100,000. The duties, policy writing, liaison, coordination, they could be considered core business of the existing rec and works teams. And we saw that logic applied in the villages strategy, where a lot of the actions were being delivered within existing resources. Much of this work appears one-off policy record updates, not a full-time ongoing role. At best, it should be part-time or a fixed term trial. Otherwise, we're adding permanent wages bill in the same year we're telling the community we're tightening our belt. So if there's an appetite for a temp position, I'm open to supporting an amendment for that, but otherwise it is with a heavy but practical heart that I cannot support this motion as it stands.
Thank you, Councillor Cranston. Any further discussion? No further discussion. I'll put the motion. Those for? 1, 2, 3, 4. Carried. Those against? Carried. Carried. Sorry. Move to item 8.4.2, water supply update. Councillors could have a move and a seconder. Councillor Packham, Councillor West, Councillors, any discussion? No discussion. I'll put the motion. Those for? Against? Carried. Move to item 8.4.3, Local Government New South Wales Water Management Conference 2025. Councillors can have a move and a seconder. Councillor Wright, Councillor Cranston. Councillors, any discussion? No discussion. I'll put the motion. Those for? Against? Carried. Councillors, we now move to the Director of Culture and Community Services report. We move to item 8.5. Oh, do we have some declarations? Yes, Councillor Underwood, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I declare a non-significant non-pecuniary conflict of interest. I work in the disability services sector. I deem this non-significant because I have not had a role in developing the plan. As such, I'll remain in the room.
Thank you, Councillor Underwood. Councillor Packham?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I also declare a conflict of interest as a non-significant non-pecuniary. I'm employed in the disability sector and our organisation has had no role in the development of the plan, but it could be a perceived conflict.
Thank you, Councillor Packham. Councillors, we'll move to item 8.5.1, Disability Inclusion Action Plan 2022-2027, Annual Update, July 2024 to June 2025. Councillors can have a move and a seconder. Councillor Cranston, Councillor Wright. Councillors, any discussion? No discussion. Put the motion. Those for? Against? Carried. Move to item 8.5.2, 2025 to 2026, Rural Village Improvement Program. Councillors can have a move and a seconder. Councillor Packham, Councillor Gulliver. Councillors, any discussion? No discussion. I'll put the motion. Those for? Against? Carried. Move to item 9, reports of other committees. Item 9.1, minutes, Bathurst Regional Community Safety Committee, 18 September 2025. Councillors can have a move and a seconder. Councillor Underwood, Councillor Gulliver. Councillors, any discussion? No discussion. Put the motion. Those for? Against? Carried. Move to item 9.2, Policy Community Report, 1st of October 2025. Councillors can have a move and a seconder. Councillor Packham, Councillor Cranston. Councillors, any discussion? No discussion. Put the motion. Those for? Against? Carried. Move to item 9.3, Local Transport Forum Report, 7th of October 2025. Councillors can have a move and a seconder. Councillor Packham, Councillor Underwood. Councillors, any discussion? No discussion. Put the motion. Those for? Against? Carried. Councillor, we now move to the notice of motion. Move to item 10.1, Councillor E. West, Impacts of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Amendment Planning System Reforms Bill 2025 on regional councils and committees. Councillor Gano move and a seconder. Councillor West, Councillor Gulliver, councillors, any discussion? Councillor West.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On September the 17th, the New South Wales Government introduced the Environmental Planning and Assessment Amendment Planning System Reform Bill 2025. While presented as a housing measure, the bill makes sweeping changes to the planning system that apply to all development across New South Wales, including mining, industrial agriculture, and infrastructure projects that directly impact regional communities. This bill centralises planning powers in New South Wales in new state-led authorities, removing decision-making from regional councils and local planning panels. It removes key safeguards requiring environmental and bushfire risk considerations in development assessment. Despite escalating climate risks in regional New South Wales, it reduces the role of specialised agencies such as the Environment Department and RFS in giving expert advice, leaving communities exposed to inappropriate or unsafe development. It limits community input by cutting consultation requirements and removing the object of increased opportunity for community participation in environmental decision-making, and it does increase corruption risks, with broad discretion for state authorities to fast-track rezoning and approvals, contrary to the Independent Commission Against Corruption advice. Regional councils are the closest level of government to communities and are best placed to incorporate local knowledge, environmental conditions, and community priorities in land use planning. The proposed bill erodes this role, weakening protections for regional communities, the environment, and public trust in the planning system. In effect, this bill would be taking democracy out of the planning system, leaving decisions about major developments to just two people. This opens the way for interested parties, such as housing developers, mining and renewables, to simply lobby these two people rather than having to comply with the current environmental and planning laws and regulations. And what I didn't put into this motion is that if it's declared a TAD, a targeted assessment development, then it actually makes it illegal for those two people who are considering it to consider public interest, the environment, and a third one which I can't bring to mind at the moment, but it makes it illegal to consider those issues, which is just gobsmacking, quite honestly. It is beyond belief. So I recommend this motion to you as it stands and would like to have some discussion on that.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further discussion? Yes, Councillor Gulliver.
I supported the motion. Good luck to Councillor West to take on the state government. I can't even get a speed limit changed. But the important point be acknowledge the importance of local and regional expertise in planning decisions. I think the local people do need to get more involved with. And we've all had the experiences with the state government where they just come along, tick a box, and we're not satisfied. So I support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Gulliver. Any further discussion? No? Oh, Councillor Cranston.
Thank you, Councillor West, for bringing this forward. My concerns relate only to Clause C. I completely agree that this bill deserves careful scrutiny and that council should have a voice in that process. I did send a very quick email to Councillor West this afternoon, just expressing my concern simply regarding the wording of C, which was writing to the Premier and, I'm paraphrasing, opposing the bill in its current form. And certainly I personally would be far more at ease, I guess, with wording that was taking a more collaborative approach of what would be one, I think that a local council should be playing, and that is not that we're opposing it, but that we are requesting further consideration and that the bill be deferred. That allows then proper consultation with local government. So again, I don't think it dials back the intent too greatly. We haven't been consulted as yet. And so that, simply my concern is that as a local council, I don't believe we have the ability or the authority to oppose something. I believe that's how, obviously, our state member should be doing that. But what we can do is advocate to him for a deferral until such time as we've been consulted.
So you're putting that as a change to C?
I would like to, if that's okay.
Councillor West, do you agree with that?
I would prefer to give others a chance to speak to it, to find out what the general appetite for their motion is in the room at the moment, before moving to an amendment.
Councillor Cranston.
Just a point of noting, I guess I did pause and allow anyone else to speak before I did
Yeah,
raise
right.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, does anyone have any more discussion on it? Councillor Underwood.
Mr Mayor, Councillor Cranston has indicated an alteration that she's seeking as an amendment. We should see whether someone's willing to second the
Second that.
amendment.
Anyone like to
first.
second that amendment? Yes, Councillor Wright. Now, Councillor Underwood.
Could I point out now, Mr Mayor, what that means, although the
Well,
content generally is similar, but the debate now is on the amendment, not on the motion. But as councillors Cranston and West have shown, the majority of the items are the same. It's proposed that item C be altered, and I take it that the alter C wording would be write to the Premier, Minister for Planning and Public Spaces and local members of Parliament requesting that consideration of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Amendment Planning System Reforms Bill 2025 be deferred until full consultations occurred with councils, regional organisations of councils and local communities.
So that is the debate now. Discussion.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Yes, A, B, D and E is written.
Yep.
And C is similar to what's there, but one says that it be deferred until full consultation occurs, where the other one says the council directly opposes what's there.
Councillor Underwood.
But it's not in regards to an amendment on point C. So I'm
Right.
happy for a vote on point C to go forward before I have comment. Mine more pertains to
Okay,
point E.
Councillor Underwood. Yes, Councillor Wright.
Yeah, so the reason I support the amendment is purely because, well, I guess it's sort of a question first. Like, have conversations taken place yet between council, the Premier, the Minister for Planning, our local members? Have these conversations taken place first? Because I wouldn't be comfortable opposing something off the bat until that collaboration between those parties has taken place. And I also just note, the bill in its current form, but there isn't an attachment, which I've gone and looked it up for myself, so I believe I'm looking at the correct thing. But I guess just from a completeness point of view, and I'm not nitpicking for the sake of nitpicking, but to attach the bill would be incredibly useful just from a paperwork point of view, so we know that this is the version of the bill that we're opposing. That's just a comment. So yeah, the reason I support the amendment is because, and I got a head shake there that those conversations hadn't taken place, is that I would like to collaborate a bit first before opposing, because I actually do want to support this motion, because I think it stands for something really important, but I think the strength of the word opposition when we haven't had internal conversations or involved our local member and things like that yet would be a wise choice just this early on in the piece.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Any further discussion? Right of reply? Or are we going to put the motion for the amendment?
I guess I think that if what we're going to do is wait for further discussion between the people who are proposing this bill and various organisations or councils or environmental groups or anybody, they have shown by their action that they're not prepared to discuss it. So I'm not really concerned about whether there are any good points in the bill. Picking the bill apart as to whether there's some things that are beneficial and some things not. What I would say is that their lack of collaboration means that they just want it to get through. And if we wait for discussions to happen, our chance to oppose it will be gone. It will go through. Deals have been done. So I would prefer to keep the original wording. That's, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor West. Councillor Cranston.
Close out.
Yes.
Yep. I think possibly there's a misunderstanding on my behalf of where this is actually at. So I don't believe what I'm merely suggesting is rather than you, Mr. Mayor, writing on behalf of all of us saying we oppose this bill, we are saying, please, can you defer any discussion around it until we've been allowed to have a say in the entire process and its contents. So
Point taken.
that's I want to be really clear on that because I agree it's deeply concerning.
It is.
And I would love to wholeheartedly support this amendment. It's just that oppose, it almost takes it brings a political element into this. So, and I struggle using the word softening because again, I have quite strong views on this one as well, but I feel it's our role to be collaborative and try and get an outcome that is through consultation.
Thank you, Councillor Cranston. So now we're voting on the amendment, Mr. General Manager, if you could read it, please.
Mr. Mayor, the amendment as moved is A as written, B as written, C, write to the Premier, Minister for Planning and Public Spaces and local members of Parliament requesting that consideration of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Amendment Planning System Reforms Bill 2025 be deferred until full consultation has occurred with councils, regional organisations of councils and local communities, D as written and E as written.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. We've heard the amendment. All those for? Against? Carried. Yes, okay, we'll do it again. Division, all those for? Against? It's carried. Thank you. Now we go back to Mr. General Manager.
The amendment has now become the motion and should be put, Mr. Mayor, for...
We'll now put the motion. All those for, do you want a division? Oh, sorry, Councillor Underwood. Sorry, yes, have a discussion on the amendment, on the motion.
Thank you. And while I would delight in getting involved in some political analysis about what this legislation might or might not do in regards to state parliament, I'm supporting this motion and particularly Part E through the lens of the critical minerals strategy and the way that positions the Central West region. And I really do see no harm in a report to Council to consider the wider implications this legislation presents for water security, bushfire management, environmental land use. And I do so for no other reason, if it goes through, than to ensure that we're on the front foot for future decisions pertaining to that strategy.
Thank you, Councillor Underwood. Any further? Yes, Councillor Cranston.
Sorry, just I guess rounding out the discussion is again just not taking, even though there is a slight amendment to it, I don't believe it takes away the intent of the good work that Councillor West has done bringing this forward, and I'd just like to acknowledge that. So thank you.
In closing, Councillor West. Oh, sorry, Councillor Wright.
I just have two questions. So when, and I don't know, perhaps it's Councillor West who would answer it, but when would this actually be coming up for debate in State Parliament, just so I understand the timing? And then two, would it be that we are arranging some kind of meeting or working party, or I don't know, what would the mayor like in terms of what any of those conversations look like, or is it just a letter saying deferral and that's pretty much the conversation for the time
I'll
being?
have this. Yes, Acting Director.
Through
On
you,
question one.
Through you, Mr Mayor, unfortunately I'm not aware of when it's the decision's been made in Parliament.
And on the other, I'll have a discussion with the Director of Environmental and Planning Services, and then we'll come up with a plan how we'll address it, either by letter or in person, whatever. Yes, Councillor West.
To respond to that, this is not definite. This is, if you like, hearsay. But the general analysis that I've read is that the New South Wales Parliament want to push this through as quickly as possible. They have the numbers, and it will be a done deal very, very quickly. Is what I understand to be the aim.
Thank you, Councillor West. Councillor Wright. Question.
And one last question: does anyone, I'll just say in this room, know what the position of our state member is? And the reason I ask that question is, if it is for, perhaps we can also be engaging the community to make representations about it alongside us, to defer or something like that. So do we know his
I'll ask
position?
the question. Yes, Councillor West. Sorry. I thought we had it.
Mr Mayor, there you had your point that you raised on the amendment. There's no right of reply because the amendment has now become the motion. The right of reply on the motion is in fact Councillor Cranston, because Councillor Cranston moved it with Councillor Wright. In terms of the amendment before it got put, I took it that your final speech was that right that you had as the person who moved the original motion to make a comment about the amendment before the amendment was put.
I'll allow. Yes, I'll allow.
Last thing I wanted to say was that the BCAN, Bathurst Community Climate Action Network, have actually written to Paul Toole. I've got a copy of the letter that they sent. I was, as my right of reply, going to read the whole thing out, but I won't. But I just want to note that they say, although the bill purports to relate to housing, if it is passed, anything can be declared a targeted development assessment with no constraints. Consideration of environmental impacts and the public interest would be expressly prohibited for TDAs. There are no legislative safeguards setting criteria or limiting the classes of development which can be declared a TDA. I think that is scary.
Thank you, Councillor West. But now, yes, Councillor Cranston.
My understanding is the bill's actually at its second reading at the moment. So given the sense of urgency, can I actually ask what the time frame might be with that? C, rights to the Premier, et cetera, et cetera.
Immediately.
Yeah, immediately.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Next couple of days. Thank you. No further discussion? I'll now put the motion. Those for? Against? Thank you. Carried. Thank you. We now move to item 11, resolve into confidential committee of the whole to deal with confidential reports. Councillors, we now are due to go into confidential committee. Councillors, could I have a motion to go into confidential meeting of council? Move in a second. Councillor Cranston, Councillor Gulliver. Are there any members of the public and press who wish to make representation to the council as to whether the matters should or should not be dealt with in confidential committee? No, as there are no representatives, I now put the motion to go into confidential committee. All those for? Against? Carried. Can we ensure that the recording of the meeting has
number 2, Korean Tennis Club, to allow for Councillor Packham to move out because he shouldn't be here as part of the adoption because you've declared your interest. So then we go to 11.1.3, Regis, no, you stay for the moment, Regis Pipeline deed of variation, that council act in accordance with the recommendations of this report. Your vote will be recorded in the minutes. 11.1.4 Aqua Park update. The council act in accordance with the recommendations of this report with the commencement date of the new licence agreement approved on the 20th of August 2025 being 8 October 2026. The next item, 11.1.5 Bathurst 6-hour agreement. That the matter be deferred to allow for the provision of additional information to council. We then go to Director of Engineering Services report 11.2.1 net waste tender for collection and recycling scrap metal. That council act in accordance with the Director of Engineering Services report. 11.2.2 tender for the acceptance, reprocessing and reuse of biosolids extension of tender. That council call new tenders for the acceptance, reprocessing and reuse of biosolids, and B, that until a new tender is awarded, accept the processing of biosolids at the Rocks Bathurst Proprietary Limited at a revised rate of $100 per tonne on a week-by-week basis. So if we could have a two.
Second. Oh, yeah.
No, we need to get a mover and a second to adopt those ones.
We're moving a second to adopt those ones. That's Councillor Cranston, Councillor Packham, and then we've got one more, haven't we?
And then,
Well, those four.
yeah, put
Thank
that.
you.
And then
Carried.
Councillor Packham should leave the room.
Yep.
A non-pecuniary, non-significant interest in this, or conflict in this, in that I'm a member of the Bathurst Korean Tennis Club.
Thank you,
Mr
Councillor.
Mayor, in confidential session, the item 11.1.2 Korean Tennis Club loan, the recommendation is that further discussions be held with the Korean Tennis Club concerning their loan.
Thank you. Councillor Mover and a seconder. Councillor Orban, Councillor Wright, Councillor Burnley. Discussion. I put the motion. Those four. Against. Carried. Thank you. I declare the meeting carried. And we go to Council now declare the meeting closed at 8 p.m.